Song for a Whale, Chapter 44. Sound can move anything if it's strong enough. The bellowing song of Blue 55 traveled through me so strongly that my body vibrated like one big radio speaker. Of all the sounds in the world, this one had to be the most beautiful. I knew that without ever having heard a thing, I'd made a song for him, and he gave me his own right back. I wished I could stay right there forever, where I'd always feel the waves of that music. The cold and the need for air were the only things that could tear me away. I grabbed for the surface, while 55's music still rippled the water. He swam back to me, nudging my side like he was making sure I was okay. We surfaced together, then swam toward the boat. I raised my hand to wave. Andy stood up near the front. She pointed at me as she said something to the driver. Then she turned to me, and her mouth formed the question, Iris? I nodded and smiled, even though I was shivering. The man tossed me a life preserver. Before grabbing on for them to pull me aboard, I rested my palm on the side of the whale's face to tell him goodbye. Keep singing, Blue 55. As the boat drove us toward the sanctuary building, I was thinking the cold water must have frozen my brain. It looked like my parents were waiting for me on the dock. Frozen as I wasn't hallucinating. My parents stood there, arms around each other, on the dock in front of the sanctuary, along with Grandma. I braced myself for them to lecture me about the serious trouble I was in, but they didn't. Certainly it would come, but they're holding it for later. Dad was the first one to wrap me in a hug. When he let go, I stepped back so he could see me. With shivering hands, I signed, I didn't miss the boat or the train, he added. He put his coat around me and led me inside. Sorry for everything, I told him. Am I grounded for life? He nodded. Maybe longer. Totally worth it. Make a splash is another figure of speech I understand better now. Usually it means to make a strong impression to get a lot of attention. Thankfully, I did make a big splash when I jumped into the water because it caught the attention of a man on a nearby dock. He flagged down Andy and pointed me out. I didn't remember screaming when I hit the water, but apparently I did that too. After my email to Mom asking her not to blame Grandma for our trip, my parents had guessed that I'd gone looking for the whale. My postcard from Alaska was a bigger clue. All they had to do was search online for news about Blue 55. They got on a plane to Oregon and drove to Lighthouse Bay, where they met Andy. My punishment would wait until we got home. For now, they just wanted to see me and know that I was all right. And I was. Grandma and I would head back to the ship to finish the cruise, then fly home together. We promised not to do any detours. Mom didn't say much. She mostly just held me. Now and then she pulled away to brush back my damp hair and look at me like she was making sure I was really there, before holding me again like she'd never let go. I hugged her back and let her know that was okay with me. Andy brought me another cup of hot chocolate that helped me warm up, along with Dad's coat and the blankets the staff gave me. While my clothes dried, I changed into a sanctuary t shirt and a pair of pajama pants I had packed after we picked up my backpack from the jetty. I did get that tour Andy had promised, even though we weren't at her sanctuary in Appleton. The staff let her show me around and introduce me to all those animals I'd seen on the website. Computer screens in one of the offices showed graphs with wavy lines that moved up and down. They looked like the graphs I'd seen in articles about whale songs. And Andy pointed out the labels for each one, showing where the hydrophones were that picked up whale songs. A line on the last graph moved up and down close to the line labeled 55 hertz. Blue 55's graph showing that he was singing. Andy slid a notepad between us and wrote, "Have you thought about what you'll be when you're older?" I shrugged. I'd always figured I'd do something with electronics, but wasn't sure what that would be, what I would do every day for a job. All of this, Andy pointed to the computer screens, and what you did with the song is called acoustic biology. People in that field study sounds that animals make when communicating. I could work with sound and whales, like those scientists I'd read about who'd studied whale songs to make migration maps. I learned the song of this whale and will learn it for others. Andy added, "You'd be good at it." Then crossed it out. Beneath that, she wrote, "You are good at it." Before we left the sanctuary, Dad held my hand as we stood at the window to watch Blue 55 swim throughout the bay. He would stay or he would move on. After swimming in warmer waters for the winter, maybe he'd come back here to this place where he'd heard his song. And he'd remember a girl who swam with him when it first played. He and Mara, the young blue whale, might learn to communicate with each other just a little. As she grew older, Mara would look and sound more like his mother. They didn't speak the same language, but once in a while, one of them might say the right thing. They'd have that much, and that would be worth coming back for.